Hey, there it is. There it is. How you guys doing? Oh, I'm going to break it. All right. Full disclosure, we're not parenting in a pandemic right now. That's not what we're doing. It's just a graphic that was left over, so we're not doing that. So Mike and Deanna's on vacation, so here I am. First thing I want to say is that parenting in a pandemic, that one thing as a young parent, me and Tanya has been involved Oak Point for 13 years, 12, 13. Cameron's my age gauge. 13 years, and one thing that we've learned from Mike and Deanna, they're 100% transparent with their parenting and kind of the way they've done, and they've been a big influence on us, and I appreciate them, and just them sitting up here and being 100% transparent with everybody. I appreciate that. So Mike asked me, and I love that he gives me the opportunity to do as I please and not kind of follow what he's got going on, but this time was a struggle. Usually I have something in my back pocket that I've worked on and been able to use, be like, you know what, this will be good next time I preach. Well, I didn't have anything this time. So I reached out to a couple of friends and had some guys talk to me, pray for me, and then on the way home, I got to thinking, going through some old pictures, screenshots that I had on my phone. I found Colossians 4:4, which is something that I had prayed for myself when I had preached one Sunday before, and it says, pray that I will proclaim this message as clearly as I should. And at the time, I just wanted to be able to stand up here in front of you guys and give the word that God had laid on my heart the way he wanted me to give it to you. And that was what I prayed for at the time. But then, so once I'm reading it and it clicks, it's like, this is it. This is what it is, because communication is huge. Communication is big. Communication in marriage, guys, right? John? Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you. We've done Grow Group. I know. We're good. Communication in marriage is huge on both sides. Wives, husbands, at work is good. Me and Tanya's been together a very long time, married 15 years, and she has tones and the way she says things. The other morning, we got a puppy. We've had him since June. Puppies are all cool, but you know what they are? They're puppies. And they get into everything, and they poop in the floor. And just this morning, they throw up, and they're puppies. So we're upstairs in the morning, which is a crazy time we'll touch on a little bit later, but Hank gets a box, and the dog loves cardboard boxes. And the cardboard boxes become one whole box into 100,000 pieces strewn all over the place. So I'm upstairs doing something, Tanya's doing something, and I hear, Brent, he's got a box. Okay, we've been married a long time. I've messed up a lot. And I knew at that time when she said that, I was in trouble. But first thing I said, well, more than likely I was probably doing something I wasn't supposed to, not helping the kids get ready, so probably scrolling my phone, so I throw it down, jump up, and like, I didn't give him the box. She's like, I know, I'm just letting you know. But we've been together so long that I heard her tone that a lot of times Tanya's panic begins with Brent. Hey, you know what? I feel good about it because she trusts me. She's safe with me. I'm here. But it's usually Brent. And then it's like, I don't know what's going on. And then I'm in defense mode because, hey, I've screwed up a lot. So I know I need to kind of need to touch on everything, make sure all my I's are dotted and T's are crossed to make sure I'm good. But that's what happens. So I'm like, hey, I didn't give it to him. She's like, I know. I'm just letting you know he has a box. So the communication there, the message that she was wanting to get across, I took differently than what she was wanting to get across. And we have that. What about like when you guys were younger and if you played the telephone game? If you don't know what it is, we'd line a group of people up around this room and we'd whisper something in the first person's ear. It goes down along around and it gets to the end and it's nothing like what we said at the beginning because the communication gets mixed up. I have the opportunity to coach football for 20 to 22, 7 and 8-year-olds, and it's a task. It's fun. I love it. But yesterday at our game was awful. And my body language to those 22, 7, 8-year-olds was not like, this game is fun, let's go get them. My body language to these kids were like, this is awful, and we can't do anything, and we're not a good football team. Because there's a lot of times I'm standing in a huddle, and I'm just like this. Get down, and I'm like, all right, guys. Or I'll stand up, and I'll just put my hand on my head, take my hat off, and turn around and walk back like this. I go out, there's a couple calls. You know, sports referees are probably not the brightest people out there. If you've ever had kids that played or you've played, you know, they're not right. They're never right. Certain play happened, and the refs didn't understand. They blew it dead, so I go out there. We're not supposed to be out there, but I'm out there. And I'm like, hey, he can't do that. He's got to do this. And the guy's like, no, he was in motion. I'm like, can't do this. So we're going back and forth. Well, then the ref blows the whistle, and he says, he's right. He can't do that. I'm like, thank you. So then I walk off. Well, then I come back on the field to talk to another referee, and then that guy starts yelling at me again. And I'm like, hey, I'm just talking to him. You know, I was being petty. I'm just talking to him. And then he's like, you need to get off the field. So, you know, I stand right behind the line, and I'm like, I'm off the field now. So then my younger brother grabs me, and he's like, hey, remember who's watching you. And I'm like, dang it, you're right. Remember who's watching you. Same thing, we've got a parent who takes pictures. There's 2 pictures she posted. My dad was there, and he posted on those pictures, look who's looking up to you, and follow the leader. Because I'm standing there, and they're looking at me. These 11, 12, 8-year-olds are looking up to me at this time. Not because I'm taller, but because I'm an influence in their life. And then when we're walking off the field, I'm clearly walking with my shoulders, and they're following me. But what message am I trying to give those kids? You know, I need to be building these kids up. I need to be encouraging them, getting them ready, especially in football, to go run through a brick wall. But when I'm sulking, what kind of message am I getting across? It's not happening. So we're going to be in Colossians 4, 2 through 6. So in Colossians, Paul is in prison. Paul's in prison for telling people about Jesus. But what he's doing, he is writing to the Colossians. All right. So I'm going to read 2 through 6, and then we're going to kind of dive into it. So devote yourselves to prayer with an alert mind and thankful heart. Pray for us too, that God will give us many opportunities to speak about his mysterious plan concerning Christ. That is why I am here in chains. Pray that I will proclaim this message as clearly as I should. Live wisely among those who are non-believers and make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be gracious and attractive so that you will have the right response for everyone. All right, so think about our days, okay? With 3 kids and sports, it's wide open. We're 100 mile an hour all the time. So think about it. You get home tonight, everything's settled, and you open your planner and you look at what has to be done next week. Coming up, this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and you instantly become overwhelmed. Like, I can't do this. I know it's a struggle for us because Crew's got football practice Monday, Tuesday. Tanya's got cheerleading practice. Cameron's got cheerleading practice. We've got youth on Wednesday, and then we're doing this, and then we're doing this. So it's like all these things, and I know for her and for myself, it's like, when are we going to fit in dinner? How are we going to do this? Okay, where can I meet you to get Crew so I can take him? We can go to football practice, and you can go home with the kids. Vice versa. There's a lot of things, but we look at our planners, we look at what we've got, and we instantly become overwhelmed. We become overwhelmed, and then how is our message proclaimed when we become overwhelmed? If we get up that morning and we're like, you know what, this is what I got to do, I'm overwhelmed, and then we go out to work. How is that translating to us working? Morning time for us is awful. I told the first service that I love my kids between the hours of 7 and 5:45. Those are the hours that I'm at work, because any of the other hours we're at each other. In the mornings is rough. So we get up, we get a routine because it's not the same, but we're rushing all the time. It seems like I'm having to tell my oldest daughter to do something, or you need to get this together. You need to get this together. We usually try to leave the house at 6:45. Cameron comes into the kitchen at 6:40, grabbing stuff out of the freezer. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm about to make a smoothie. I'm like, you got 5 minutes. What are you doing? So then she's got her stuff. What am I going to eat? And then she grabs her granola bar. She's walking out the door. Cameron, have you taken your medicine? And here we are just yelling at kids more oftentimes than not. Just this past week, I had to text Cameron on the way to school. Sorry, I'm a butthead. Do you know what she says? You are. Because I am. I am. But it's like that. It's like that. So we're trying to, and that sets the tone for the day. Ellie, my middle one, Ellison, she'll get overwhelmed. And then that sets the tone for her day. Now, I probably contribute to a lot of it. But it sets her tone. I have to constantly remind them, hey, just because I'm a butthead, don't let what I'm doing change the rest of your day, because you have control of that. You have control of that. So when we get overwhelmed and things happen, it changes the way we proclaim our message to other people. Because honestly, I'm probably not setting my kids up for success when I give them a hard time on the way out the door. I'm probably not. So Ephesians 6:4, Mike's talked about it the past 3 weeks. It says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. If there's a verse that I struggle with, it's this one right here. Because if there's one thing that I do is I provoke my children to anger. Because you know what? If you're crying for no reason, especially crew, I'm like, why are you crying, you little baby? You know? And then Cameron, I keep picking on them to kind of build it up, and then boom, now they're mad at me. So I do this. So my message isn't brought across. My message isn't clear to them. When it comes time for bedtime, I like to be the fun parent, right? That's what dads are. We're the fun parent. Tanya makes a statement all the time. You're always the fun parent. Well, so we play, we joke. Come bedtime, 8:30, 9 o'clock, we're playing, we're joking, and it's like, hey, you guys need to go brush your teeth. I come back in, and they're sitting on the bed petting the dog. Okay? Hey, go brush your teeth. Leave and come back, and now they're laying in the floor with the dog. Like, this dog's been home all day, and you ain't had nothing to do with him until it's time to go to bed. So I have to tell them and tell them and tell them, and to the point that it's like, okay, I'm here now, and now I'm fussing at them because they can't figure out where I've stopped playing and now where I'm serious. Tanya has told me many times, you need to let them know, hey, I'm not playing anymore, I'm serious. You can't just transition from play to serious and expect that to happen. And that's the problem I have, is because I expect them to understand while my tone hasn't changed, I'm serious now. So my message at that time isn't being proclaimed clearly because I'm not getting the results that I am. I'm not getting it. Think about, so at work, when our message at work, we deal with a lot of people outside of just church, outside of our family. Work. I am struggling right now with work. Just going and things at work. So there's many times that I pull in the parking lot and I just think to myself, how much vacation time do I have? Can I use one today? You know, I know that all these other people can just call in. Can I make that happen? What point will I get in trouble for not coming to work? There's times I think about that. So I have to really pray this prayer, pray Colossians 4:4, pray that I proclaim my message clearly on my way to work, because as soon as I get into work, a lot more times than not, I instantly become frustrated just because of things going on. So now, if I'm frustrated, how is my message going to be proclaimed? If I go tell these people here, hey, you know what? I love Jesus. I go to church. We talk about church a little bit. You know what? Matter of fact, I'm the youth pastor at church, yada, yada, yada. We kind of build a relationship. But then on the next time we talk, I'm talking bad about this guy. Man, that guy's an idiot. I can't believe he did that. What are they thinking? All these people are stupid. This place is just going downhill. We're not going to be working. How is my message? What happens when I go back to tell them about Jesus? I'm like, well, you know what? Not a real positive person. Not a real good person. So my message is being proclaimed differently because of the way that I talk, the way that I handle myself. When I spoke about the football team, if I walk around sitting there, you know, hey guys, man, Jesus is great. I tell the youth, your body language tells me a lot about yourself when you sit here, the way you're handling yourself and the way you want to be. I was sitting here reading over my notes in the first service, and I had Tammy Gillespie come up to me, and we kind of spoke a little bit, and she looked at me, she said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine." Well, you know what? My body language didn't tell her that I was fine. And the way I was sitting there going over my stuff and me having a conversation with her didn't tell her that I was fine. And that's one thing that I struggle with, especially when I get frustrated, is my body language, because I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Everything's right here. You can look at me and see what's going on. But that's what we have to do. So Paul in Ephesians 4:4. Oh, wow. All right, so let's go to verse 2. I done went way off this way. We're back. Let's come on. Verse 2, it says, it starts with a request for personal prayer. So Paul is saying, devote yourselves to prayer with an alert mind and thankful heart. Think about the things that we devote ourselves to, whether we like to cook, whether we like to clean, whether we like sports, whether we like robotics, whether we like this or this or this. We devote ourselves to it. We want to find out as much about it as we can and become the best we can. So think about, Paul is telling us to devote yourselves to prayer and an alert mind and thankful heart, because Paul has a thankful heart right now. Even though Paul is in prison for telling people about Jesus, he has a thankful heart. And the verse 3 goes on to say, pray for us too, that God will give us many opportunities to speak about his mysterious plan concerning Christ. That is why I'm here in chains. So when I get in trouble, I don't ask for the same opportunity that got me in trouble to come again. I don't want to do the same thing. But Paul knows that his message is important. Paul knows the good news that he needs to be spreading, and he's asking for more opportunities to share this gospel. So that's what he's asking for. And then verse 4 goes on to say, pray that I will proclaim this message as clearly as I should. Now, Paul's talking about his preaching. He's telling people about Jesus. And what it relates to me when reading this, what really spoke to me was not just standing here being able to do this, but the message that I tell everybody outside of here. What is the message that I'm telling my family? What is the message that I'm telling my friends at work? What are the friends that I'm telling, the group message that I have with a bunch of people that are from different states that we've become friends? What messages am I telling them by the words that I put in that group message? What message am I proclaiming to people when somebody on Facebook makes a dumb post and I feel like that I need to respond to it? What message am I proclaiming when I use my Twitter to just bash somebody? Or whatever this platform that we have is, how are we using it to proclaim the message of Jesus? Because he calls us to go tell people about Jesus. So, verse 5 says, live wisely among those who are non-believers and make most of every opportunity. Make most of every opportunity, because you don't know what's going to happen in that opportunity. You don't know when you're going to get that opportunity. Because there's a lot of times I tell kids that we're telling people about Jesus. Be that person that's there. Have conversations with people. Be there. Water the seed. You may not see them come to Christ. You may not see what the end goal is, but continue to water that seed. And that's what he says, live wisely among those who are non-believers. Be wise. Use your words. Proclaim Jesus in your actions. And to make the most of every opportunity. Because when that opportunity comes, we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared to make that, proclaim Jesus, to make that opportunity the best that we can. Because we don't know when it's going to come. We don't know when it's going to happen. And then verse 6 says, let your conversation be gracious and attractive so that you will have the right response for everyone. So what is a gracious and attractive conversation? Is it talking about what I want to? Because that's when conversations are good, right? I want to talk about what I want to. But conversations are a two-way street. There's a lot of us who like to hear ourselves talk. But there's also a lot of us who don't understand the conversations. I have to explain to my 13-year-old that a conversation is me say something and then you respond to me. And then I'll say something, and then you respond again. Because a lot of times I'll send a text message. She'll sit it down, and I'm like, did you get my text? Yeah, I got it. I read it. I'm like, why didn't you respond? Oh, I didn't know you asking me to sit something out needed a response. I'm like, acknowledge me. That's all I want. Acknowledge me. Say okay or whatever. But conversations are two-way streets. So when you have the conversation, whether it's about work, whether it's about whatever's going on, the weather, sports, we have to understand that that conversation isn't just a meaningless conversation. We're building trust. We're building relationships with people. We're watering that seed. So when we're having that conversation, whether it be a serious conversation or just a conversation to passing by, it's a gracious conversation is one that goes both ways. I'm speaking, but I'm also listening. I'm also hearing, because maybe that person's having a rough day. They just need somebody to listen. A while back, I had a friend going through a divorce, and he called me. We talk usually through text, but he called me. And I could tell by the way he was talking, he didn't want me to say anything. He just wanted somebody to listen. About halfway through the conversation, I realized that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to listen. I haven't been through the situation you're going through, but I'm going to be here for you to just get it off your chest, because he's in Charleston. I kind of know the situation, but I'm not directly involved, so I don't see everybody. So it's like, okay, I can talk to this guy. I trust him, but now I know that it's not going to, I can just get it off. And that's what I was there. I was just listening. So that was a gracious conversation, I feel like, because I was there to listen. And sometimes that's what conversations are. That's what conversations are. Ephesians 4:29, we don't have it on there, but it says, do not use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement for those who hear them. Words are sharp. Words hurt. Words are meaningful. A lot of the times I say things, I have to say I'm sorry. Because I say a lot of things that are mean. My tone comes across like you don't understand anything. So I have a lot of times that I have to go back and say, hey, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean to offend you. I didn't mean to kind of throw you under the bus. I'm sorry. Or I have to send a text message to my 13-year-old or my wife and say, hey, sorry I'm a butthead, because that's what I am. But they're sharp, and they have lasting effects. Not just in the moment, but they have lasting effects. Relationships can be ruined by words, by things that are said. The way we say things, the way we dictate things, the way things are communicated, just change the narrative of how a relationship is. So think about, how is our message being communicated? How is the message of Christ that God's calling us to go tell people that he says, pray so I should proclaim this message as clearly as I should? Because there's a lot of times, past couple of weeks, I've been praying that on the way to work. Because I knew that if I got into work, I may not proclaim that message as clearly as I should. Or if I do, it's not the message that I need to be proclaiming. But how are we communicating? How is it being communicated? Is it clear as mud? Because you know what? There's a lot of times communication is like that. It don't happen. I can say something and you don't hear me. You don't understand me. So are we showing the love of Christ in our words, in our actions, the way we handle ourselves? Is that how we're doing it? I tell the youth, go tell people about Jesus. If you have to, use words. Our actions, the way we handle ourselves, are a big thing. And when we're out there proclaiming our message, proclaiming the message of Christ in our daily lives and our daily activities and things we do, pray that we proclaim them as clearly as we should. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for this opportunity. God, I thank you for your word that is true and it means so much. Lord, I pray that our message is proclaimed as clear as it should. Lord, I pray that we go out and we just spread the good news of you and the great things that you've done just to everyone. Lord, I pray that our actions, the way we handle ourselves, our body language is a representation of you. We're going to get frustrated. We're going to have bad days. These things are going to happen, Lord, but I pray that when these happen, we turn it over to you and just understand that you're in control. Regardless of the bad day that's going on or what's going on at the time, it may be rough. It may feel like it's the worst thing going on, Lord, but God, you have bigger plans for us. And we don't need to be in the moment, but we need to see what's out in front of us. Lord, I pray for this group as we go out and we just proclaim the message of you. Lord, I pray that they proclaim it and they speak it as clearly as they should. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity. In your name I pray. Amen. Hey, last thing. Before we go, I forgot to mention it again. If you are involved in a grow group or you want to be involved in a grow group, your grow group leader should have contacted you. If they have not, we have some connection cards up here. You can fill it out, put it in the box, or you can sign up on the leaflet. And then lastly, we are doing the 18 to 25. Parker, I need to speak to you when we get done. Have a good day.